Have you ever noticed how the smallest habits can hide the biggest stories? A quiet routine, a simple request, something so ordinary that you stop questioning it until one day it disappears. And suddenly, nothing feels ordinary anymore. Every Thursday evening at exactly 6:15, there would be a soft knock on my door, not loud, not urgent, just gentle, almost like the person on the other side didn't want to disturb me, but still hoped I would answer. And every Thursday, when I opened the door, he would be there, my neighbor, Mr. Harris. He lived alone in the small apartment across the hall. I didn't know much about him. No family visits, no loud noises, no signs of a busy life. Just a quiet man with slow steps and kind eyes. Sorry to bother you, he would say, every single time. His voice was always calm, polite, careful. Then he would pause, just for a second, as if he was choosing his words, even though he had said them many times before. Could you lend me $5? The first time he asked, I didn't think much of it. People go through hard times, and $5, it's not much. So I said yes. The next week, same day, same time, same knock. Could you lend me $5? I remember smiling a little because I thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe he needed help again. Maybe something unexpected happened. But then
It happened again and again.
and again, every Thursday, 6:15, $5. After a while, it became normal. I didn't ask questions. He didn't give explanations. It was just something that existed between us. Quiet, simple, unspoken. Have you ever had something like that? A routine with someone where no words are needed. Sometimes, after I handed him the money, he would stay for a few seconds longer. Not long enough to start a conversation, just long enough to smile. Thank you, he would say. And there was something about the way he said it that made it feel heavier than $5. Not desperate, not embarrassed, just sincere. I started to notice small things about him over time. The way he always wore the same jacket, even when the weather changed. The way he walked slowly, like every step mattered. The way his eyes softened when he looked at people. He never looked like someone asking for help. He looked like someone trying not to ask. Once, I almost asked him why. Why $5? Why every week? Why always at the same time? But something stopped me. Not fear, not discomfort. Just a feeling that maybe the question mattered more than the answer. So I let it be, week after week, knock after knock, $5. Until one Thursday, at 6:15, there was no knock. At first, I didn't notice. I was busy, lost in my own routine. But then, the silence felt strange because sometimes it's not the presence of something that stands out. It's the absence. I looked at the clock. 6:20, then 6:30, still nothing. And for the first time in months, I found myself standing near the door, waiting. That night, I told myself it didn't mean anything. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he wasn't home. Maybe something came up. But deep down, there was a quiet feeling I couldn't explain. Because when a pattern breaks, there's always a reason. I just didn't know yet that this time, the routine would change everything. The next morning, I told myself not to think about it. People miss routines all the time. Maybe he was out. Maybe he was visiting someone. Maybe he simply didn't need the $5 anymore. But as the day went on, that quiet feeling stayed. I passed by his door on my way out. For a moment, I slowed down. Not enough to stop, just enough to notice. The hallway was the same, silent, still. But something felt different. His door was closed, like always. No sound from inside. No movement. I stood there for a second longer than I should have. Then I walked away. Have you ever felt something was wrong, but you couldn't explain why? So you just keep going? That's what I did. I went to work, finished my tasks, smiled at the right moments. But every now and then, my mind drifted back to that quiet hallway. Thursday came again. 6:15. This time, I was ready. I stayed home, sat near the door, not doing anything, just waiting. 6:10, 6:14, and nothing. No knock, no soft voice, no sorry to bother you, just silence. I looked at the door longer than I wanted to admit, as if staring at it would somehow make him appear, but it didn't. That's when it started to feel real. Not just a missed routine, but a change. Later that night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stepped out into the hallway, slowly, quietly. His door stood across from mine, exactly where it had always been. But now, it felt unfamiliar. I walked closer, each step softer than the last. And then I noticed something small, something I had never seen before. A piece of paper slipped under his door. It looked like mail, unopened. I stared at it for a moment. Then, at the door, I thought about knocking. Just once, just to check. But I didn't, because suddenly, all the weeks before came back to me. The way he asked, the way he paused, the way he never explained. It felt wrong to cross that quiet line between us, so I stepped back and returned to my room. That night felt longer than usual, not because something happened, but because nothing did. Friday came, then Saturday, still no sign of him. By Sunday, the hallway felt emptier, even though nothing had changed. Sometimes, you don't realize how much space a person fills until they're gone. On Monday morning, as I was leaving for work, I saw someone I didn't expect, the building manager, standing near Mr. Harris's door. He wasn't just passing by, he was unlocking it. My steps slowed, my heart a little faster. Is everything okay? I asked. He looked at me, then at the door, then back at me again. There was a pause, a quiet one, and then he said something simple, something that didn't sound important at first. I haven't seen him in a few days. The door opened slowly, and for some reason, I felt like I wasn't ready for what was inside. The door opened slowly, not all at once, just enough for the building manager to step inside. I stayed where I was, a few steps away, not invited, not sure if I wanted to be. From where I stood, I could only see a small part of the room, a chair, a table, a dim light coming from the window. Everything looked normal, too normal. The manager walked in further. I heard his footsteps, soft, careful, then silence. "Sir!" he called out, once, then again. No answer. Something in my chest tightened, because deep down, I think I already knew. A minute passed. Or maybe longer. It's strange how time feels different when you're waiting for something you don't want to hear. Then he walked back out, slowly, closing the door behind him. I looked at his face, trying to understand before he even spoke. But he didn't say much. He just shook his head, slightly. "He's not here," he said. "Not here." Such a simple sentence. But it didn't feel simple. "Do you know where he went?" I asked. He hesitated, then sighed quietly. "No," he replied. "But someone came earlier this week." "Someone?" He nodded. "A woman, middle-aged. She stayed for a while, took some things, said she was family." Family. That was the first time I had ever heard that word connected to Mr. Harris. "Did she say anything else?" I asked. The manager thought for a moment, then said something that made everything feel even more distant. She said, "He won't be coming back." The hallway felt colder. Not coming back. I looked at the door again, the same door I had opened every Thursday. The same door that stood quietly while I waited on the other side. And just like that, the routine was over. No goodbye, no explanation, no final knock. Just gone. That night, I sat in my room longer than usual, not doing anything, just thinking. I tried to remember the last time I saw him. His voice, his smile, the way he said, "Thank you." Was there something different? Something I missed? But the more I thought about it, the more everything felt the same. And somehow, that made it harder. Because if nothing changed, then when did everything change? A few days later, something unexpected happened. There was a knock on my door. Not soft. Not familiar. Different. I opened it, and there she was. The woman. She looked tired, but composed. Like someone holding herself together, carefully. Hi, she said gently. "Do you live across from Mr. Harris?" I nodded. She looked at me for a moment, as if trying to decide how much to say. Then she reached into her bag and took out something small, a folded piece of paper. "He wanted you to have this," she said. I froze, because suddenly, all those quiet Thursdays, all those unanswered questions, they were about to mean something. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to understand why. I didn't take the paper right away, not because I didn't want it, but because something about that moment felt heavier than I expected. "He left this?" I asked quietly. The woman nodded. Her eyes were calm, but there was something behind them, something tired, already accepted. He talked about you, she said, more than you might think. That surprised me, because in all those weeks, we barely spoke. I slowly reached out and took the paper. It was light, too light, for something that suddenly felt so important. Thank you, I said. She gave a small smile. Not the kind that hides pain, the kind that lives with it. He didn't like asking for help, she added softly. But he trusted you. Trusted. That word stayed with me, even after she left, even after the hallway returned to silence. I closed the door, sat down, and looked at the folded paper in my hands. For a moment, I didn't open it, because sometimes not knowing feels safer than understanding. But eventually, I unfolded it, slowly, carefully. The handwriting was neat, simple, a little shaky, and at the top, just one line. I'm sorry, my chest tightened. I kept reading. I know I never explained why I kept asking you for $5. I wanted to, many times, but I didn't know how. I paused, because suddenly, all those quiet Thursdays felt different. I wasn't using the money for myself, the letter continued. I leaned closer. My hands, a little less steady now. Every week, I used it to buy something small. Bread, fruit, sometimes soup. I frowned slightly, trying to understand. For someone downstairs, he wrote. An old woman who couldn't leave her room. I felt something shift inside me. She had no one, no family, no visitors, and she stopped opening her door to strangers. I swallowed. But she would open it for me, he continued. Only if I brought something. Suddenly, everything made sense. The timing, the routine, the quiet way he asked. I didn't have enough money every week, he wrote. So I borrowed just a little. Just enough to make sure she had something to eat. I closed my eyes for a second, because $5 was never just $5. I didn't tell you, he wrote, because I didn't want it to feel like something big. I just wanted to keep doing it. A slow breath escaped my chest. All this time, I thought I was helping him. But he was helping someone else. I stopped coming last week, the letter said, because I no longer could. My fingers tightened around the paper. I'm tired, and I think it's time for me to rest. The room felt quieter than ever. But thank you, the last lines read, for never asking why, for simply opening the door. I stared at the letter for a lot, saying anything, not thinking clearly, just feeling, because sometimes the deepest kindness happens in silence, and we don't even realize we were part of it. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was restless, but because my mind kept returning to the same thought. All those Thursdays, all those small moments, they meant something I never saw. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done before. I walked downstairs. I didn't know exactly where I was going, just a quiet feeling guiding me. The building was older on the lower floors, darker, quieter. I moved slowly, reading the numbers on each door, until I reached one that felt different. I stood there for a moment, then knocked. No answer. I almost turned away. But then, a soft voice came from inside. Who is it? I hesitated, then said gently, I'm a neighbor. There was a pause. A long one. The sound of a lock. The door opened just a little, enough for me to see her. An older woman. Fragile. Careful. Her eyes studied me quietly. I'm sorry, I said. I think Mr. Harris used to visit you. Something changed in her expression. Not surprise, not confusion, just he brought food, she said softly. I nodded. He hasn't come in a while, she added. I swallowed. He won't be coming back, I said gently. She didn't react the way I expected. No shock, no questions. Just a slow nod. I know, she said. That surprised me. He told me, she continued. Last time, the silence between us felt different now, not empty, but full of something shared. He was a kind man, she said. I looked down for a moment, then back at her. Yes, I replied. He really was. I reached into my pocket, without planning to, without thinking too much, and I took out $5. I was wondering, I said slowly, if I could bring you something next week. She looked at the money, then at me. Her eyes softened, just like his used to. You don't have to, she said. I know, I've replied, and for the first time, I truly understood what that meant. She opened the door a little wider. Then come by on Thursday, she said quietly. Thursday, 6:15. Okay, I said, as I walked back upstairs. The building didn't feel as quiet anymore. Because sometimes a small act doesn't end, it continues in someone else. That night, I placed the letter on my table, carefully, like something that shouldn't be forgotten, because it reminded me of something simple, something easy to miss. Not every story is loud, not every kindness is seen, but that doesn't make them small. So if you're listening to this, and there's something small you've been doing, or something small you've been ignoring, take a moment to think about it, because sometimes $5 is never just $5. If this story touched you or reminded you of someone in your life, share it in the comments. I'd really like to hear your story. And if you believe in quiet kindness, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because sometimes the softest stories leave the deepest impact.